Dull and success. The kind of opulent setting my family always chose to celebrate themselves. My father's 60th birthday party was no exception. A lavish affair where Silicon Valley's elite gathered to honor William Parker, Senior Vice President of Global Operations at Meridian Technologies. I adjusted my simple black dress, designer, though they'd never know it, and approached the check-in table where my brother Marcus stood with his wife, both gleaming with the polished perfection of tech industry royalty. "Emily," he said, barely glancing at me. "You actually came. Dad invited me." I reached for my place card, but Marcus snatched it first. "Oh, there's been a change in seating arrangements." His smile was pure venom. "We've had some last-minute additions from Meridian's board. Important people, you understand. You'll be sitting with the staff." By staff he meant the hotel workers and event coordinators, the people my family considered beneath them. I saw my stepmother, Patricia, watching from across the room with satisfied smugness. "The staff tables are through there." Marcus gestured toward a corner near the kitchen entrance. "Where you belong, really. Still working at that consulting firm, aren't you?" I bit back a smile, thinking about the email I'd received that morning from Meridian's board of directors. If only they knew that the consulting firm was just a cover, that I'd spent the last 5 years quietly building something much bigger. "Actually," I started, but Patricia swooped in, her diamonds catching the light. "Emily, darling, surely you understand," she cooed. "We have the CEO of Meridian coming, board members, major investors. We can't have them sitting with, well, with someone who works for a living?" I finished for her. She flinched slightly at my tone. "Don't be difficult. Your father's reputation at Meridian means everything. We can't risk embarrassing him in front of his superiors." I thought about my father's position at Meridian, about the changes coming next week, about the decisions I'd been quietly making in boardrooms they'd never seen. But I just took my place card and turned toward the staff tables. "Of course not," I said softly. "We wouldn't want to embarrass anyone." The staff table was tucked away from the main celebration, but it offered a perfect view of my family's performance. Marcus holding court with mid-level executives, probably bragging about his recent promotion to regional sales director. Patricia fluttering between influential guests, playing the perfect corporate wife. And my father laughing too loudly at his boss's jokes, still chasing that elusive promotion to executive VP. "Not quite what you expected, Miss Chin?" I turned to find Robert, one of the hotel's event coordinators, watching me with knowing eyes. He'd used my real name, Chin, not Parker, which meant he knew exactly who I was. "The seating arrangement wasn't my choice," I replied carefully. He smiled. "No, but it might work out better than your family expects. Especially when Chairman Wallace arrives." So he did know. Of course he did. Luxury hotels like the Grand Pacific catered to the city's true power players. They knew who really controlled the big companies, who sat on which boards, who held the real power behind corporate thrones. "You don't seem surprised to find me here," I said quietly. "The Grand Pacific has hosted many Meridian events, Ms. Chen, including several board meetings." His eyes twinkled. "Though I suspect your family doesn't know about those." Before I could respond, a commotion near the entrance drew everyone's attention. Marcus straightened his tie, Patricia adjusted her jewelry, and my father practically jumped to attention. "Ladies and gentlemen," the evening's MC announced, "please welcome the CEO of Meridian Technologies, Mr. James Harrison." Applause erupted as Harrison entered, tall, distinguished, and completely unaware that his position was far less secure than he believed. Behind him came several board members, all wearing carefully neutral expressions. They knew what was coming. "William," Harrison boomed, approaching my father with practiced joviality. 60 years young. "Though I hope you're not thinking of retirement yet. We need you in global operations." My father laughed too enthusiastically. "No plans to retire, sir. Still hoping for that executive VP position." I saw several board members exchange glances. They knew that position would never come, not with the changes planned for next week. "Emily." I turned to find Thomas Wallace, chairman of Meridian's board, standing quietly beside the staff table. Unlike the others, he'd entered without fanfare, without announcement. "I thought I might find you here," he said softly. "Though I must admit, I'm surprised by the seating arrangement." "Family dynamics," I shrugged. "They thought they were putting me in my place." He smiled. the same smile I'd seen in countless board meetings over the past year. Shall we adjust their perspective? Not yet, I replied, watching Marcus preen for Harrison's benefit. Let them enjoy their moment. Wallace nodded, understanding perfectly. He'd been my mentor for years, ever since I'd approached him with my ideas for revolutionizing Meridian's technology division. He was the one who'd suggested I operate in secret, building my influence through holding companies and strategic investments while my family remained blissfully unaware. The vote was unanimous, he said quietly. The board approved everything this morning. Harrison doesn't know yet, of course. Neither does your father. I watched my family basking in their perceived importance. Marcus dropping hints about his sales figures, Patricia touching Harrison's arm while laughing at his jokes, my father practically begging for attention from board members who'd already decided his fate. When do you want to make the announcement? Wallace asked. I checked my phone, seeing the confirmation email from Meridian's legal team. Everything was in place. The contracts were signed. The press release was prepared. 5 years of careful planning was about to pay off. Let them finish the champagne toast, I said. It would be a shame to spoil their celebration too early. Wallace's eyes crinkled with amusement. You're kinder than they deserve. No, I corrected him. I just understand the value of timing. Across the room, Marcus was now loudly discussing his plans for expanding his sales territory, completely unaware that his entire division would be restructured next week. Patricia was showing off her jewelry to Harrison's wife, oblivious to the fact that her social position in the corporate hierarchy was about to change dramatically. And my father. He was still chasing promises that would never be fulfilled, not realizing that his daughter, the one they'd seated with the staff, was about to become everyone's boss. Robert appeared with fresh water for our table. Chairman Wallace, he said smoothly, will you be making the announcement before or after dinner? That's up to Ms. Chen, Wallace replied. Or should I say Madam Chairman? I smiled, watching the champagne flow at the main tables. Let's wait for the perfect moment. After all, my family went to such trouble to arrange the seating. It would be rude not to let them enjoy their last few minutes of feeling superior. The moment arrived during my father's birthday toast. Harrison stood, champagne glass raised, delivering the kind of generic praise executives reserve for middle management. To William Parker, he announced, 60 years young and still climbing the corporate ladder. Marcus nudged my father, grinning. Maybe this is the year for that executive VP position, Dad. Wallace caught my eye from across the table. I nodded slightly. He stood up, straightening his tie. Actually, I have an announcement about Meridian's leadership structure. The room quieted. Harrison's smile faltered slightly. Board chairmen don't typically hijack CEO's speeches. As many of you know, Wallace continued, Meridian's board has been discussing significant changes to our executive team. Tonight we're ready to announce those changes. I watched my family's reactions. Marcus leaned forward eagerly, probably assuming his sales successes had been noticed. Patricia gripped my father's arm, her diamonds catching the light as she practically vibrated with anticipation. First, Wallace said, I'll be stepping down as chairman of the board. Gasps rippled through the room. Harrison's smile widened, until Wallace's next words wiped it away. Additionally, the board has voted for a complete restructuring of our executive leadership. Mr. Harrison will be transitioning to an advisory role, effective immediately. The champagne glass nearly fell from Harrison's hand. What? But the board never discussed. We discussed it extensively, Wallace smiled. Just not with you. Which brings me to our final announcement. He turned toward the staff table. Emily. I stood up slowly, enjoying the confused looks on my family's faces as Wallace extended his hand to me. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your new chairman and CEO of Meridian Technologies, Ms. Emily Chen. The silence was absolute. Marcus's mouth hung open. Patricia's face had gone pale beneath her perfect makeup. And my father. He looked like someone had just rewritten his entire understanding of reality. That's impossible, Harrison sputtered. She's just a consultant. Actually, Wallace corrected him, Ms. Chen has been the driving force behind Meridian's most successful technology initiatives for the past 5 years. Through her holding company, she controls 30% of Meridian's shares. The board voted unanimously this morning to approve her appointment. I walked to the front of the room, accepting the congratulations of board members who'd known my true identity all along. My Louboutin heels, the ones my family had assumed were knockoffs, clicked against the marble floor with each step. Emily. My father's voice was barely a whisper. What? How? That consulting firm you all mocked? I smiled. It was just a cover. I've been building my influence in Meridian since the day you told me I'd never understand corporate leadership. Marcus stood up so quickly he knocked over his champagne. This is ridiculous. She can't run Meridian. She's not even a Parker anymore. She uses Mom's name. Yes, I do, I agreed. Emily Chin, daughter of Grace Chin, who you and Patricia worked so hard to erase from family photos after she died. The name you thought wasn't prestigious enough for corporate leadership. Patricia tried to recover, her social instincts kicking in. Darling, we had no idea. If you just told us. Like you told me about Dad's birthday seating arrangements? I raised an eyebrow. Speaking of arrangements, Marcus, your sales division is being restructured. We'll need you to clear out your office by Friday. The color drained from his face. You can't fire me. I'm your brother. I'm not firing you, I corrected him. I'm giving you the same opportunity you gave me tonight. A chance to sit with the workers and learn how the company actually functions. Wallace stepped forward, handling the formal announcements while I watched my family's world implode. Harrison was escorted out by security when he tried to protest. Board members who'd ignored my father for years now rushed to congratulate him on his daughter's success. Emily, please. My father finally approached, his voice shaking. If I'd known. Known what? That I was capable of running a company? That I wasn't just the disappointing daughter who needed to be hidden away at staff tables. I was wrong, he admitted quietly. About everything. I studied him. This man who'd spent decades chasing corporate validation, who'd let his wife and son treat me like an embarrassment, who'd never once stood up for me until I had power over him. Yes, you were. I straightened my jacket. And now you have a choice. You can retire with a generous package, or you can stay and work under your daughter's leadership. Either way, things will be different. Different how? For starters, I smiled, you'll be sitting at the staff table at all future corporate events. I hear it offers an excellent perspective on how power really works. Over the next few weeks, Meridian transformed. Harrison's old guard was replaced with innovative leaders who'd earned their positions through talent rather than connections. Marcus was demoted to an entry-level sales position, where he finally had to learn the business from the ground up. Patricia's social circle imploded as corporate wives realized she no longer had any influence to peddle. She stopped appearing at company events after I enforced a strict no-family policy. Except for major shareholders, of course. My father chose to stay, accepting a minor position in operations. Sometimes I catch him watching me run board meetings from his seat in the back, finally understanding what real corporate leadership looks like. Last week, during Meridian's annual charity gala, Marcus tried to pull rank on a junior employee. Do you know who I am? He demanded. I'm the chairman's brother. Former regional sales director, currently on probation in entry-level sales, I corrected, walking up behind him. And if you ever try to use my position to intimidate staff again, you'll be looking for a new job. Clear. He slunk away to the staff table where Patricia sat pretending not to notice her loss of status. Harsh, Wallace observed, joining me. But necessary. They needed to learn, I replied, watching my family huddle at their assigned table. Success isn't about where you sit at parties. It's about what you do when no one's watching. Later that night, alone in my office, the same one Harrison had once promised my father, I found an old photo from my mother's funeral. 14-year-old me standing apart from the family, already being pushed aside for not fitting their image of success. I placed it beside Meridian's latest earnings report, which showed record profits under my leadership. Sometimes the best revenge isn't proving people wrong. It's becoming so powerful that their opinions become irrelevant. The next morning, my assistant brought in the seating chart for next month's corporate retreat. Your family's table assignments, Ms. Chin? I smiled, thinking of Patricia's designer dresses and Marcus's expensive suits, now wasted on the staff section. Same as always, I replied. Some people need a permanent reminder of where they placed others when they had the chance to be kind. After all, leadership isn't just about running a company. Sometimes it's about teaching people that every seat at the table matters, especially the ones they think aren't important enough for their presence. And sometimes, the best view of success comes from the tables they tried to use as punishment. Of pristine Caribbean coastline, its white buildings cascading down to turquoise water. I'd purchased the property 6 years ago when it was a struggling 3-star hotel, invested $12 million in renovations, and transformed it into a 5-star destination that anchored my 11-property resort chain. My family's annual reunion was being held here this year. 40 relatives gathering for a long weekend, and not one of them knew they were staying at my resort. "Welcome to Sapphire Bay," the valet said warmly, reaching for my luggage from my 10-year-old Honda. His name tag read Marcus, and I recognized him from the staff photos my regional manager sent monthly. Checking in. Yes, under the Summers family reunion block. His eyebrows rose slightly. "Miss Summers? I'll have your bag sent directly to—" "Just follow the standard reunion room assignments, please," I interrupted gently. "I'm a guest today." "Of course." He looked confused but handed me a claim ticket. The lobby was all marble and ocean views, with the signature blue glass chandelier I'd commissioned from a Miami artist. My cousin Ashley held court near the check-in desk, directing family members with a clipboard and an air of authority. "Kate." He waved me over. "You're finally here. We were worried you wouldn't make it." "Flight was delayed," I said, hugging her briefly. "Well, you're just in time. I've got everyone's room assignments organized. We've been upgraded. The resort gave us an amazing deal on suites for the whole family." She beamed. "Oceanfront, balconies, the works." "That's great. Your room is ready too. Let me just check." She consulted her clipboard. What?" "So, the suite upgrades were for couples and families. Since you're single, they kept you in a standard room. But it's still nice. Poolside view." I waited. "It's just that everyone else is in the North Tower with ocean views and you're in the South Building. But honestly, Kate, you'll probably be so busy with family activities you won't even notice." My cousin Jessica appeared, designer sunglasses perched on her head. "Did you tell her about the rooms?" "Just explaining the arrangement," Ashley said. Jessica nodded sympathetically. "It's actually better this way. The South Building is quieter. More your speed, you know? Less chaotic than being with all the couples and their kids." "High speed," I repeated. "You know what I mean. You're always so independent. Content with less." She gestured at my simple sundress and carry-on bag. "This way you won't feel out of place when everyone else is posting photos from their fancy suites." I checked in with the front desk agent who clearly knew who I was but followed my earlier instruction to treat me like any other guest. She handed me a key card to room 142, a ground floor standard with a view of the resort's smaller pool, far from the luxury accommodations in the North Tower. My phone buzzed as I headed to my room. A text from Ashley in the family group chat. "Everyone's upgraded to suites except Kate. She's in a standard room but says she doesn't mind. So generous of her to understand." Smiling face with smiling eyes. Replies flooded in. "That's our Kate, always so easygoing. At least she gets a poolside view. Better than nothing else." I stood in the hallway outside room 142, looking at the text thread. My family celebrating their upgraded suites at my resort, while I'd been assigned the cheapest room in the building. I opened the door to find a perfectly adequate standard room, crisp white linens, basic furniture, a small bathroom. Through the window I could see the secondary pool where families with small children played. It was nice. It was fine. It was nowhere near the oceanfront suites where my family was unpacking in luxury I'd personally designed. I pulled out my phone and called the front desk. "This is Kate Summers. I need to speak with the regional manager immediately." "Miss Summers?" "Of course. I'll connect you with Mr. Patterson right away." Derek Patterson answered on the first ring. "Miss Summers, I didn't realize you were on property today. Is everything all right? I'm here for a family reunion. The Summers family block. Do you have the reservation details?" "One moment." I heard typing. "Yes, we have 40 guests under that block. Premium suite upgrades for most of the party, some standard rooms." He paused. "Oh. They assigned you to room 142. "They did. That's our most basic accommodation." "Who approved that room assignment for the owner?" My family doesn't know I own the resort, Derek. They think they got a generous upgrade deal. And they decided I didn't qualify for a suite because I'm single. Silence on the other end. Derek, I need you to do something for me. Anything. Reverse all the suite upgrades. Move my family back to standard rooms. Cancel the resort credits, the complimentary breakfast and the spa discounts. Return them to the standard reunion package rate. You want me to downgrade your entire family? Immediately. Miss Summers, that's going to cause complaints. They'll demand to speak with management. I'm counting on it. 20 minutes later, I was unpacking my carry-on when my phone exploded with notifications. Ashley, Kate, did you see? They're moving us out of the suites. Some kind of computer error. Jessica, this is ridiculous. We already unpacked. They're saying we have to move to standard rooms. My Uncle Tom, the manager says there's no resort credits anymore either. What kind of place is this? Aunt Linda, I'm going to the front desk to complain. This is unacceptable service. I smiled and headed to the lobby. The scene was exactly what I'd expected. 15 angry family members crowded around the front desk, voices overlapping as they demanded explanations. Ashley waved her clipboard like a weapon. Jessica was filming on her phone, probably planning to post a scathing review. This is outrageous, Aunt Linda declared. We had confirmed upgrades. Oceanfront suites. Now you're saying we have to move to smaller rooms. The front desk agent maintained professional composure. I apologize for the confusion, but there was an error in the original booking. The suite upgrades and resort credits weren't actually approved. I have the confirmation email. Ashley thrust her phone forward. It says right here we're getting the premium experience. I understand, ma'am, but I want to speak to the manager, Uncle Tom interrupted. This is unacceptable. We're a party of 40. We deserve better treatment. I'll get the regional manager, the agent said, already reaching for her phone. I stood at the back of the group watching the chaos unfold. My cousin Ryan spotted me. Kate, can you believe this? They're downgrading everyone. Everyone? I asked innocently. Well, not you, obviously. You're already in a standard room. He said it without malice, just stating what he thought was obvious. But the rest of us are being moved from luxury suites to regular rooms. It's crazy. Derek Patterson emerged from the executive offices, immaculate in his resort manager suit. His eyes found mine immediately, a question in them. I gave him the slightest nod. Ladies and gentlemen, he said, his voice cutting through the complaints. I apologize for the confusion regarding your room assignments. Confusion. Jessica snapped. This is incompetence. We were promised upgrades. I understand your frustration. However, I need to clarify something about this situation. He pulled out his tablet. The Summers family reunion block was booked at our standard group rate. The suite upgrades you received were unauthorized. Unauthorized by who? Ashley demanded. By the property owner. Derek's gaze swept across my family. Miss Summers specifically requested that all upgrades be revoked. The lobby went silent. Miss Summers. Aunt Linda's voice was sharp. Kate had nothing to do with our booking. Ashley arranged everything. Not Kate, Derek said. Catherine Summers. The owner of Sapphire Bay Resort and the entire Sapphire Collection resort chain. You could have heard a pin drop. Ashley's clipboard clattered to the marble floor. Kate doesn't, she couldn't. She works in hotel management. She owns hotel management, Derek corrected. 11 properties across the Caribbean and Central America. Sapphire Bay is the flagship. Jessica's phone was still recording, capturing every stunned face. That's impossible, Uncle Tom said weakly. Kate drives a Honda. She dresses like she shops at outlet malls. I do shop at outlet malls, I said, stepping forward from the back of the group. And my Honda runs perfectly well. Neither of those things has any bearing on my net worth. The crowd parted as I walked toward Derek. Miss Summers, he said formally. I've executed your instructions. All room assignments have been returned to the standard group rate. Should I proceed with the downgrades? Every eye was on me. Ashley found her voice. Kate, you own this resort? I purchased it 6 years ago. Invested $12 million in renovations. Built the North Tower you were all just complaining about being moved out of. But you never said anything. You let us book here, let us think we were getting some special deal. You did get a special deal, I interrupted. I approved a 40% discount on your group rate because you're family. The upgrades you received? Those were complimentary because I wanted you to enjoy the resort. Until I saw the room assignments. Jessica lowered her phone slowly. The room assignments? I was given a standard room. Ground floor poolside. The cheapest accommodation we offer. I looked at Ashley. You texted the family chat saying I didn't mind being in a lesser room because I'm generous and easygoing. Ashley's face went red. You decided I didn't qualify for an upgrade because I'm single. Because I'm different. Because you assumed I couldn't afford better anyway. We didn't mean it like that, Jessica protested. How did you mean it then? I asked quietly. When you said the standard room was more my speed? When you suggested I'd feel out of place in the luxury suites? When you told everyone I was content with less? Silence. I own this resort, I continued. I designed those suites you were so excited about. I selected every piece of furniture, every art piece, every amenity. I built the spa where you booked treatments and the restaurant where you made reservations. And you assigned me to the worst room in the building because you decided I wasn't good enough for better. Aunt Linda sank into a nearby chair. Kate, we didn't know. You didn't ask. You made assumptions based on my car and my clothes and my marital status. You decided I was less successful, less important, less deserving. Ryan stepped forward. So you're punishing us by taking away the upgrades. I'm giving you what you booked, I corrected. Standard rooms at a discounted group rate. Which is still generous considering you tried to exclude me from the luxury accommodations at my own resort. Derek cleared his throat. Miss Summers, should I proceed with reassigning rooms? I looked at my family, 40 faces showing various degrees of shame, confusion, and residual entitlement. Part of me wanted to let them sit in their embarrassment, let them experience the standard rooms they deemed good enough for me. But they were still family. No, I said finally. Keep the suite upgrades. Restore the resort credits and the breakfast. They can stay in the North Tower. Relief flooded several faces. But, I continued, I'm moving to the presidential suite. The one in the private tower that's not available for standard bookings. With the ocean views, private infinity pool and dedicated concierge service. The suite that costs $12,000 per night. $12,000, Ashley choked. I am still the owner, I said. And I deserve the best accommodations at my own property. Derek, have my things moved immediately. With pleasure, Ms. Summers. As Derek made arrangements on his tablet, I turned back to my family. You're welcome to enjoy your suites. Enjoy the resort, the amenities, the vacation. But from now on you include me. Not because I own the place, but because I'm family and I deserve the same respect you give each other. Uncle Tom found his voice. Kate, we're sorry. We should have. You should have treated me better regardless of what you thought my bank account looked like, I finished. But yes, you should have. Ashley picked up her clipboard with shaking hands. Can we start over? Can you tell us about your business? Really tell us. I considered. The presidential suite was probably ready by now. I could retreat there, enjoy my private pool and ocean views, let them wonder about the empire I'd built. But they were asking. Finally asking. This evening, I said. Come to my suite at 7. I'll order dinner from our executive chef, the one I recruited from a Michelin-starred restaurant in Miami, and tell you everything. Your suite? Jessica asked hesitantly. The presidential suite, yes. There's room for 40 on the terrace. Bring everyone. It's time you understood who I am. That evening, my family gathered on the sprawling terrace of the presidential suite. The sun set over the Caribbean, painting the sky in impossible colors. My private chef served courses I'd personally approved, wine from my resort's premium cellar. And I told them everything. About buying my first struggling hotel at 28 with money I'd saved from a tech job. About renovating it, turning it profitable, selling it for triple my investment. About building a portfolio of 11 properties across 6 years. About creating the Sapphire Collection brand that was now synonymous with luxury Caribbean hospitality. They listened. Actually listened without interruption or dismissal. You did all this by yourself? my cousin Ryan asked, awed. With excellent teams at each property, I said. But yes, the vision and capital were mine. Ashley set down her wine glass carefully. And we put you in room 142. You did. I'm so sorry, Kate. I thought I was being practical. I thought you wouldn't care about the room quality because you never seem to care about appearances. I don't care about appearances, I agreed. But I care about being valued. About being included. About my family seeing me as worthy of the same treatment they give each other. We see you now, Aunt Linda said quietly. And Kate, we're proud of you. We should have been proud all along. The evening continued with questions about my business, my properties, my plans for expansion. They wanted to know everything, and for the first time I believed they genuinely cared about the answers. Later, after everyone left, I stood alone on my terrace overlooking the resort I'd built. The North Tower lights glowed where my family slept in their complimentary suites. The resort hummed with satisfied guests enjoying amenities I'd created. My phone buzzed. A text from Ashley to the family group chat. Thanks to Kate for an incredible evening. I'm sorry for how we treated her. She deserves every success she's built. Red heart. Replies flooded in, apologies and admiration mixing together. I smiled and looked out at the Caribbean night. They finally saw me. The successful businesswoman. The resort owner. The woman who'd built an empire while they'd assumed she was barely getting by. But more than that, the family member who'd chosen grace over revenge, even when she had every right to cancel their entire vacation. I'd revealed my success on my terms at my resort with my grace. And that was worth more than any presidential suite.